won't give up. I won't stop. I am the Black Clover.
Yeah, I am the Black Clover. Grind all day.
Grind set, mindset.
You got your grimoire, I got my grind more, okay? Because I grind more and more and more.
That's great.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we highlight and discuss new series each week. Today, my name is Josh Wizard King Michaels, and I am joined by
Mehgan Nun Perrine.
Oh, the nun.
The nunnery.
The nunnery.
The nunnery.
The nunnery.
Let's go.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Volume 1. Today, we will be discussing Volume 1 of Black Clover.
Wow, about damn time, ain't it?
It's about time.
About damn time we log into Black Clover.
Hell yeah. I mean, this is a popular series. I don't know why it's taking us so long to get to this.
I don't know why, but we're here now, aren't we?
We're here right now, aren't we? Well, shoot. You're darn right we are.
Shooty.
Yeah, this is a series that obviously is incredibly popular. And it is, I think in the anime manga community, I do feel like there are a lot of controversial or contradictory there's a lot of contention, I think, amongst fans. Some people call it just a super typical shonen. Some people say that it is a super typical shonen, but it's done super, super well. Before we get into the synopsis and stuff like that, my relationship with it is that I actually watched a good amount of it a long time ago, not as long ago as I've seen or I watched things like Bleach and Naruto, but I watched it about 3 years ago and probably watched about 10 episodes and got to a point where I just kind of left it on in the background while I did other things. Not because I didn't like it, but I don't know. I put this series in the same category as I put something like Fire Force. And I don't hate Fire Force. I actually loved Fire Force a lot. I thought it was really good at what it was trying to do. And that's the thing. Is this a Fujimoto story? Is this an Urasawa story? No, but I don't go into it expecting it to be. And I can't say that just based on the first volume that I absolutely love it and was blown away by it, but I enjoy what I've consumed of the series so far. But Mehgan, what's your relationship with Black Clover?
Yeah, I kind of strayed away from Black Clover. Not necessarily, me not liking shonen. We've been over this. It's over. It's done.
Yes, you're a shonen
I recently
gal,
come
yes.
into shonen. Yes, whatever. I kind of just strayed away from this just because it was that, typical, I'm going to be the best of this. And it is kind of beat by beat, that type of story. I did watch the first episode a long time ago. I don't even think I finished the first episode. I think I stopped it and was like, yeah, this main character's not for me.
Yeah.
But I was actually really surprised of how much I liked reading the manga. I was really blown away just because of the difference in I feel of it. Obviously when you're watching an anime, you get to hear the characters, and Asta definitely has no shortage of screaming throughout what I've seen of the anime.
Yeah.
And this, he's just more animated. You don't get to hear that. So it is a bit better. Kind of like people's kind of hardships with Naruto. I guess in the dub specifically, but also just in general, because he is a very loud protagonist.
Yeah.
That screams a good amount.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I will say that, when I first experienced this series and I watched it, and we do have a physical copy here too, because I think it is very important to talk about the art, because the art is something that kind of blew me away. I mean, it's the art is really good.
I really liked it. I always love a series that can do cute and badass together. And this is one of them for sure.
Yeah. But back to the Naruto thing real quick. I 100%, as soon as I started watching, and it was kind of a little bit of the thing that I had with Demon Slayer. And if you know anything about, my relationship with Demon Slayer. It has unfolded all of it has unfolded on this podcast, on this channel. But I went into it and got probably about 10, 12, 13, 14 episodes in, and I liked it, but I wasn't like in love with it. I wasn't like super taken by it. And then out of nowhere, of course, it did grab me, but that was the same thing with Demon Slayer that I felt with Black Clover, which was just that, man, I understand that this is a genre or this is a type of story told in this medium, but it is just beat for beat. It felt the same. Like, the Hokage and the Wizard King and Asta and Naruto, like aesthetically, and even the way that other people perceive them and how
like Sasuke.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it is very similar. And I was kind of feeling that towards the beginning of the volume. It was very like, okay. And they kept repeating the same type of line over and over again, which is like, we know what they are. You don't have to say it 10 times in a row, which we'll get to. But towards the end, when we started getting those other characters introduced, like, I was really liking them. And obviously, like, the character design is really, really cool.
Yes.
And they are, like, really unique in aspects, except for, like, obviously, like, you can compare Asta and...
Yeah, and that's why I draw the Fire Force comparison, because I also think that mangaka is really great at character design, and I loved... with Soul Eater and with Fire Force, I really loved, especially in Fire Force, I guess, I loved the sort of, team dynamic, the same dynamic we got to see their unit have. It feels like the Black Bulls kind of have a similar, vibe. They're outcasts. And I really loved that. I liked this story, a lot in its world and its setting, magical, fantastical, the grimoires, like the idea, the magic systems that are in place. Like, I like it. I like it. I know that, it breaks that sort of more formulaic, model a little bit later. And I think that people who are caught up on Black Clover really even have crazier things to say about it, because I guess it is a series that does get better and better and better and better and better, which is not the case with all these like shonen type series, which is why I think that the longevity in Black Clover, even though it's like a little less talked about than something like a My Hero, for me, My Hero being another classic shonen was something that personally, it hooked me right away. And then I slowly started to lose interest in it. And I feel like if I were to continue Black Clover, it'd be kind of the reverse. It would hook me enough in the beginning, but then the deeper and deeper I go, the more and more invested I would be because of this world, because of these characters, I'm interested in continuing this personally. But what are you making that noise?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I like magic stuff. I like magic systems. Like, obviously, the further you get into Berserk, that is like heavily, which I did love. But I don't go out of my way to like read these types of mangas, and I don't know why. I don't know.
I mean, would you call this, and I could be out of pocket because I haven't seen Seven Deadly, but Seven Deadly
like really leans into it though. I mean, you have all of these characters, you have like Bon and Diane and like these crazy, fantastical, like out of this world like characters. I just feel like it's more easily digestible to me to read that than like these are people that use I don't know. I can't really explain it.
I want to get to the bottom of it.
It's so exaggerated. I feel like that's when I'm like, okay, but even Seven Deadly Sins like fell off like hard.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I really did love it. I mean, Meliodas is, it's not really a hot take. Meliodas is not like the best main character ever. He has cool stuff that he does, but most of the time he's like, comment below.
I've heard
if you agree with me or disagree with me, because I watched a good amount of it and
I've heard it falls off hard, and I've seen screenshots of like very bad animation from it. But, and speaking of animation,
that was unfortunate.
My memory of the anime as well. In preparation for this episode, I didn't go back and watch the anime, but it's still somewhat fresh in my mind, and I remember it being animated pretty well too. And even though, yes, Asta's, whether it's dub or sub, and I think probably more so in the dub, it is probably a little annoying at first. I actually thought the animation was pretty decent, and it even inspired me at the time because, again, like I want to talk about art style. It even inspired me at the time to kind of, it really reignited my passion for, drawing. And I know that, I mean, I think that a lot of fans of manga do tend to gravitate towards, art or want to be artists in some way, shape, or form because, why, how couldn't you? You're reading these beautiful, well-drawn stories by people and you hear that it's done by one person and you're like, if they can do it, I can do it. But with that comes like ups and downs, right? Of inspiration. And for whatever reason at the time, I threw on Black Clover, and the way that this mangaka drew like eyes and the way the anime adapted that and put these like sparkles in their eyes and their facial expressions and just their proportions. And I really watched it and was like, damn, I want to draw. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I hope that there's people watching and listening who are artists and can relate to that. But you ever just watch something, you're like, it's the designs and the characters are so cool. You're like, damn, I just want to draw now. Not even I want to write, I want to draw.
Yeah.
But before we go too much farther into it, if you've been living under a rock and, hey, even if you haven't, maybe you still haven't heard of Black Clover, Volume 1, Sean, our beautiful AI, is going to read a synopsis, a very quick and brief synopsis for us right now. So Volume 1, Sean, with that said, hit us with the Black Clover synopsis, please.
Asta is a young boy who dreams of becoming the greatest mage in the kingdom. Only one problem, he can't use any magic.
That is a dilemma.
Yeah. What a dilemma.
Yeah. I want to be... I was gonna say like hairdresser. I was trying to think of something funny. I want to be a hairdresser, never touched hair. I mean, it doesn't really make sense.
I like the effort.
But
you could say like, I want to be the world's best dog groomer, but I have a phobia of dogs.
Yeah, that's better.
Maybe.
That's better.
I don't know.
That's a little better. But this is kind of seems. I mean, how?
Well, that's the thing. It's so interesting with a lot of shonen. A lot of the times I do feel like something like, I don't want to say the trap, but the trope, I guess, is that a lot of these protagonists tend to be set up in a way that makes achieving their goal almost impossible, right? In the case of Naruto, which again, this is so similar to in its first volume, and probably not over the course of the series in its entirety, but it's that they set these protagonists up to be in very bad situations. I mean, they have to have something to overcome, right? In the case of Naruto, it was that he had the nine-tailed fox, spirit, and that everybody in the village hated him, and that he was the, town sort of delinquent, and no one, respected him. And Asta, has a very similar sort of situation.
Yeah.
I think that the thing is, with Black Clover, when I started reading it, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But I think it's handled, in a creative way. Kishimoto's follow-up to Naruto / Boruto was Samurai 8, where he tried to make the protagonist like the most, quote unquote, and, pardon my phrasing, but the most handicapped person he could make them. And in terms, he literally made them someone who had like disabilities that was hooked up to machines. But it was almost like, okay, this is like, I understand, I understand sort of like the intention, but it just felt a little too heavy-handed. And I think there was even an interview where he was like, all these protagonists are set up to be like, weak or have, these hurdles to have to overcome, but I'm going to make the weakest, the sort of, most, I don't know exactly the quote, but he went out of his way to make this character, have to work really hard and be in a really, unfortunate situation to kind of overcome. But then again, that's undercut in Samurai 8. I'm rambling. It's undercut in Samurai 8 when it's just like all those things are fixed. And that's kind of the thing.
That is an issue with Samurai 8 in general. So
Yeah, Samurai 8 was not great. And that's the thing. If you want to, I understand like wanting to write series that inspire people with disabilities to overcome them, or to just, make it easier for them to, deal with them, or give them some sort of comfort. But again, like even in Samurai 8, it was like that protagonist, it just got
It was resolved in like the first volume.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, I'm magically healed now.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I was someone who was disabled and looking to this series for some sort of camaraderie or comfort, I would be like, okay, well, I guess it's just me now, you know? But anyway, that was a little rant and a little ramble. But the art is fantastic. Mehgan, you read the little aside too, or the little like author's note at the very beginning.
Yeah, so cute.
I rarely, that's the thing I love about physical copies, and they're really good at it in digital copies now too, scanning all these pages. But it really made me go into reading this series. It made me go into it differently.
Well, yeah, when you have a mangaka, like, start throughout the volumes for sure, but from the beginning to like give you a little slice of their life and like make it more personal, like you really do appreciate it more. Even at the end too, he does have a little aside to his like teacher, who uses an assistant too, which I do believe is like a notable mangaka. And I think that towards the end, he does like, what if this character was
from
in
their manga?
Yeah. So that was
the
a
Black
cute
Clover world.
That was a cute little aside there. But yeah, I always love that, and I do love the physical just because I am a sucker for like sketches of character design or like little tidbits about them, like likes, dislikes, height, blood type, like favorite color. Like I always love that. So that was cute to see throughout this too.
Also, if you read this, and the reason I bring it up too is because in that little sort of author's note at the very beginning, he says that he says what I'm about to share is way too personal to share, probably way too personal to share, and it's a picture of a Black Clover cake, and he's like, but the woman who made this cake in this picture is the woman that I ended up marrying, and she's been with me through everything. It's a what I assume to be a similar case with a lot of mangaka. He talks about restless, sleepless nights, deadlines and all these things. But what he goes on to say is that like I have to kind of like prove myself to her, not prove myself, but I have to like do right by her. I want to write and tell an amazing story, for her to prove it to her and myself. I mean, that she bet on the right horse, I guess, kind of. And I'm super paraphrasing, but he was just saying like I kind of owe it to myself and I owe it to her to really give my all to something, and I better do it, kind of thing. And it's so interesting to go from that straight into meeting Asta, who is this like person who is promising all these things to this nun, and who is in a situation where he
to everyone.
Like, yeah, and struggling to get out of his situation. And so I don't know what it was about this author's note specifically, but I think it was so well placed, because if you read that and then start reading the story, you're like, oh, of course.
I see the drive.
I see, and I see also where he's pulling from.
Yeah.
So these tropes are tropes for a reason, because people actually experience these things, right? I mean, that's what makes them so common, I guess. But is there anything else you want to say before we go through it? Because I could talk more about just how much I feel like weird saying it. Like, love is a strong word, and I'm trying my hardest to not.
Really?
I'm also saying I'm not saying love. I'm trying my hardest to not say it. I throw the term around too much. Like, I love this. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And it satisfies that craving for me, that same craving that Fire Force kind of left me with. And I didn't finish Fire Force. I was only watching the anime, and I caught up. I think I finished like season 2, and then I just didn't continue for whatever reason. But I mean, that was like and I don't mean this to discredit any of the author or the mangaka's hard work, but it is sort of just like for me at least at that point, a turn my brain off and just sort of like, it was entertainment. It wasn't, and I appreciate all these different mangaka. It's what I love about manga. that tell so many different stories. Like with Fujimoto's new one shot, I was sitting there like, what does this mean? But with Black Clover, I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And that's it, But I guess we can start going through it a little bit, beat by beat.
Yes.
So, of course, it opens with Asta, who is our protagonist. And like you said, Mehgan, I think it's very important to note that in the manga, he is far more tolerable than in the anime. But he wants to be the Wizard King, the only thing. And they open on this sort of like legend of the Wizard King.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're just the most respected wizard, a mage that conquered this destructive, almost like apocalyptic evil. And one mage, the Wizard King, was the one to save the country. Everybody in the land and country respect this figure more than any other person, and their successors. And they kind of explain sort of the world. And then it cuts to Asta, who is someone who is striving to become the Wizard King, but not only has literally all the cards stacked against him, but he on top of that has no magic abilities at all. And we find this out like very, very quickly. He comes from the slums. He comes from an area, that is not a very, highly regarded area, not where nobles reside. He's freaking Aladdin, dude. He lives
and he's an orphan. You can't forget that.
And he's an orphan.
Yeah. Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin. And is who would be? Would be what's the monkey's name?
Oh God, I don't.
Abu.
Stupid.
Because they're friends, they're running around like street rats.
I mean, he's definitely not a boo.
He's
not act like him at all.
No, he's not.
But
I mean, he's practically the freaking genie, dude. This guy could do anything.
I know. I mean, yeah, the rivals.
And that's
the classic rival.
That's something that this manga does that I actually don't love. Is that it blatantly says like there are a couple lines in this that are meant to be these like huge page spreads that are supposed to be like, yeah. But you read them, at least I read them, and I'm like, okay, probably a more subtle way of saying that. But he's literally like, there's one line where he blatantly declares that he is the other's rival. And I'm like, I didn't need to be told that, but it is done, in the grand scheme of things, it is done, well. It just was heavy-handed.
A lot of this first volume, the first half was heavy-handed, where it's like, we know that they're poor.
Yeah.
We know that they are poor. You do not have to say it every 5 seconds. Like, everyone they meet, it's immediately every moment that they have is undercut by someone saying that, these people are from the sticks. Oh, they don't know anything, these poor people. Oh my God, how are they even here? Look at how poor they are. It was very annoying to me. Because every moment that they had, like, even when he was able to get the grand reveal, it did happen. It was like, how can he's so poor? How can this? I'm just like,
yeah.
And obviously I know that the people that are not in the higher rankings of society do have lower level magic. So I can only assume that these two boys come from something that is not in the slums.
Yeah.
Because they do have, or one of them, I guess, has obviously magic and the other one doesn't.
And that's kind of the thing that they set up here too. I mean, especially with the whole orphan thing. It's like, okay, how many chapters in before we find out that one of them is like the successor of the magic, Wizard King or something,
son of the Wizard King, I swear.
And then, here's me.
I swear.
Here's me being like silly, but here's also me like maybe feeling like, I don't want to say that it'll be this on the nose, but it's like, they tell this legend at the very beginning of the Wizard King, slaying this beast or whatever. This like a huge, I don't know if they named the beast or not, but But, Asta getting the grimoire of that beast, and then, getting the grimoire of that wizard king.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that same story.
Dynamic. And they're like, it couldn't be. And I'm like, it is.
Mirrored all over again.
It is, though.
Yeah.
And they're friends and rivals.
I do like aspects of their relationship. You're absolutely right, though, about a lot of stuff being heavy-handed. This line in particular was the one line that literally... I think there's a lot of good in here, but there was one line that literally made me roll my eyes so hard. I had a freaking headache, dude, because he's fighting this guy, and we're kind of jumping around, but we're having fun. This line where he's fighting this guy, and he says, "My magic is never giving up," and it was just like, okay, all right. Well, since you don't give up.
It's never...
workshop some more catchphrases or some more things to say.
He's new. Yeah. He's new to this whole thing. But yeah, just towards the first half, I was just not the biggest fan until we do end up seeing I don't know, Hogwarts was.
Oh, this this is a little different than Hogwarts. Hogwarts is a little, I think, more mystical, magical, but the Black Bull sort of, are you talking about the Black Bull castle? Or are you talking about the place that they go for the training?
For the training. That's when I started to really enjoy what I was reading.
Okay.
Yeah. Towards the beginning, it was just we know that they come from this place. We don't have to be told it 5,000 times by everyone. Even in when they're training, it is just brought up again and again. And that's the only thing I just didn't like about it.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about too, because what I really liked about Asta is that he, again, dealt a bad hand, but his way of dealing with it is saying I love that he's willing to work hard. And I love that he is really thinking outside of the box. And okay, if I either I will never have magical powers or abilities. And even if I do, they probably won't be as strong as so I have to train physically. So it's kind of a Mashal situation a little bit, even though obviously Mashal came out way after Black Clover. I like that he is someone who's there working out, and he's doing even though he's doing one-handed push-ups or literally, what is it, horizontal, vertical one-handed push-ups, I don't know, and it's a little crazy. I mean, I like that he is pushing himself in other ways. I like that he is not somebody who
is just sitting around waiting for it to happen to him.
And that something magical does happen, but I love that it's what is that sort of success is opportunity meets preparation or something like that. There's a saying something that goes something like that. But I think it's the truth here, because when Asta is given this sort of magical thing, he even says the only reason I can even wield, I didn't think I'd have to rely on my physical abilities, but the only reason I can wield this thing is because I've been working out. I just love that. I love that there was a...
I love that, and not when he did get it, it was a Deku situation where
exactly.
he literally had to over volumes and volumes and episodes and episodes and episodes still not be able to control it. I can't control it. It's just okay, I know he's learning, which is great, but he already has another thing that can help him hone it more versus him getting this thing, not even having any magic to begin with, and then not knowing how to use it. That would have just felt so repetitive.
Yeah, and that, the grimoire didn't open up, and then he was just stronger than, now.
Or he got the 4-leaf, instead of,
Yeah.
So I did like that. I liked how it was specific to him.
And I love what you said about the Deku situation too, because, it's just a frustrating thing where even Asta, for being as boisterous as he is, there's a moment in the first chapter, and I think the first chapter, the first chapter tries to do a lot, but there is a moment that I love where it almost seems as if that facade, because he is human, kind of breaks, and he's looking down at the ground, and he says because events happen that allow another grimoire, former magic knight, to use magic on him and detect his magical ability, and he detects 0 and gives him this speech about why he sucks. And I was
you
like,
suck.
and I was
You'll
like,
never
"Yikes,
be
been there."
anything in this world because you suck. You should just give up now because you have no magic.
I was like, is that a former Magic Knight or someone's freaking dad? You know?
I
what
know.
I mean?
I know.
But yeah, so he looks down at the ground and he says, like, I give like almost as if to say, he starts the sentence like, you're right, like I'm giving up, basically. And I also like that too, that you take this character, because it is sometimes inspiring and it is sometimes frustrating when a character, like, no matter what, I'm gonna
be the best of the best and you guys are gonna suck it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna, no matter like who tells me I can't do something, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna prove it to them.
No matter how many times I've beaten up as a child.
Yeah.
No matter if I don't get a grimoire or not.
Even though everybody else around me is incredibly strong and comes from very noble families with magical abilities that really rival even,
They're talented. They're handsome.
Yeah.
They're tall. I won't give up. I won't stop. I am the Black Clover.
Yeah, I am the Black Clover. Grind all day.
Grind set, mindset.
You got your grimoire, I got my grind more, okay? Because I grind more and more and more.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. But I like that. And sometimes it is inspiring, to see characters like Luffy even say, like, I just don't care about what, people tell me I should care about, these systems in place. I'm going to do what I think is right and fight for the people I think need fighting for and protecting. Asta here too, I like how there's a moment where he breaks. I like how there's a moment where, because that helped me connect with him so much more. To see for even a moment that there was even a moment where he was like, yeah, this is dumb and I give up.
Mm-hmm.
Or he almost said it. He was going down that road. And for him to pull back last minute, I like that a lot. Instead of him just being like, no one's gonna stop me, like he had a moment of real humanity, and I like that too. There are things I really like throughout it, but then again, there are some heavy-handed things.
So obviously, what's his name? They are. It happens like once a year.
I think it happens every like 5
years
or something like that. But yeah,
the training mages get their grimoire.
Yeah, and it has to do with their age. I think it's like, I could be wrong about how often it is, but I think they have to be 15 to even go to this like ceremony. And they do establish that the relationship between Asta and is very they're brothers in a lot of sense, in
pretty much
a lot of ways. Because they were given up for adoption on the same day and left on the stoop of the church at the same time and grew up attached at the hip, kind of. And Asta, we find out a little flashback, like, protected from another magic user who was trying to steal a necklace from him. And it was that day that they made a promise to each other to become the Wizard Kings, even though Wizard Kings have never, and probably will never, according to the society, come from the sticks.
It's interesting that Asta wants to marry a nun because he wants something that he can't have or doesn't have.
Or can never have. Interesting, the layers.
Interesting.
I mean, kind of honestly, truly.
Yeah.
That is kind of awesome to think about, because he can never have magic. And he can never
marry the nun.
Yeah, he can never marry.
Which is weird. It's like, isn't that like his mom technically?
I mean, she was probably more of a caretaker. I mean,
okay.
I mean,
what's the difference between a mom and a caretaker?
Well, your mom.
They didn't have moms.
Right. But I mean, like, there's all these kids out here who have crushes on their babysitters. Like, come on, there's a whole freaking genre on sites, certain sites, babysitter categories. I'm just saying it's a real fantasy that other people have. I didn't have enough babysitters to have that fantasy.
Yeah, I was a latchkey kid.
yeah. But I get it.
And there's a lot of nun categories as well.
There's a lot of nun categories. Yeah.
You know what I say?
What?
That's none your business.
My search history is none your business. But they go off to train, and that's the relationship between the two of them. And it's very cool, very Sasuke for sure.
Yeah.
Like you had mentioned, and
I mean, I think less angry.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's more chill.
Not vengeful, but yeah. But I was kind of shocked when before they even kind of established like him even wanting to be the king. When he got it, he was like, I'm gonna be the king. I was like, damn, he just switched up on his friend like that.
Yeah.
In his dream. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
well, I mean, you find out that they had already made that promise way later, but you're right. At the time, I was like, damn, okay, you're stealing this boy's shine right now.
Yeah. I mean, not that he had any.
Yeah, he doesn't have any shine, but you're stealing his lack of shine.
Yeah,
right
you're stealing his possibility of shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go off. Of course, was already gifted in his magical abilities. Asta has 0, but he's holding out for that grimoire. They have this grimoire ceremony, and gets a 4-leaf grimoire, which is said to be the grimoire of legend. The fourth clover, obviously symbolizing luck, and it is only given to like truly powerful people or people with like a lot of potential. Asta doesn't get one at all, which is very funny.
Yeah, it's looking pretty grim.
Yes, it is
for him at this moment.
Yes, it is. And he's wandering around, but he doesn't let it get to him. And this is what I like about the character too, is that he's not just saying like, I'll come back next year, or he's like, I'll come back as many times as I have to, and I'll work my ass off. I really do like that little touch of him saying like, I'm going to work for it. I'm not going to just show up here, X amount of times every 5 years or whatever, and expect a grimoire to fly into my hands. Like, I'm going to be ready when it comes. And, but I think he's still, kind of a little affected by it, obviously, but he's trying not to show it. And then, declares that he's going to be the Wizard King, and everybody's like, I believe that. I can see that.
I can see that for him. That for him, even though he's poor. Did we say that?
Yeah.
Did you say that? Oh, I haven't said it yet. Yeah, he's poor, so
really
I don't get it.
To you, huh?
It was, if I could count how many times.
You had a poor count?
I literally wrote it down. If they say peasant from the boonies one more fucking time, I think I'm going to lose it. It was just like, I understand. And I understand that this is people's reactions for the first time, but like, it was so much.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Yeah,
as someone who grew up in in the sticks, I mean, kind of really actually, and then moved to a different place. It went to another like school with a lot of other kids my age. I can. You don't know. I could have been a baby genius, and I could have went to freaking high school. That's so disrespectful, dude.
I went to school with kids my age. Yeah.
You don't know. I could have been a little Taj Mowry, dude. I could have been a freaking smart guy. You know what I mean? You never saw that show?
No.
You never saw Smart Guy? I think it was called Smart Guy. You're making me doubt it now. But Taj Mowry, Tia and Tamara Mowry's little brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a show?
Yes, it's a show, and it's a great show.
I know it's Sister.
Yeah, I mean, it's like up there with Sister. Like, it's that good of a show.
What about Dog with a Blog?
Dog with a Blog. Get out of here. Dog with a Blog. But I will say that like going, it does get brought up a lot. When I, first moved here, people
were like that in the manga.
Yeah, we're like the kids from the manga. Like, where's he from? Where is he from? Why does he talk like that? Where's he from? What's that accent? Blah, blah, blah. And I stared into a mirror and I actively trained myself to get rid of it. Crazy for long periods of time. But I'm just saying, people do people do.
That's some
bring it up.
Asta behavior.
Except I
Asta's
didn't
in the
do-
mirror. He's like, "You will have magic. You will have magic." Like every night.
And instead
100 times
of
a night.
saying that, I just learned magic. I bought magic DVDs,
And you bought magic DVDs and you played magic.
and I played magic. I'm Asta. I'm Asta.
There's
without
so many levels to Josh Magic Michaels.
Yeah.
You guys,
Have no
it's
idea.
too much.
I'm Asta without the abs, though. That's for sure. I'm
I
Asta
thought you were saying
without.
Asta without the ass.
I'm Asta without the ass. I'm Asta without the exercise. Okay, if Asta ate like shit, then me and him would be almost exactly alike.
A shista. Shit. A shit. You're a shit.
Wow, I'm glad we got
Shasta.
that. I'm glad we got that on
You
camera.
think Asta drinks Shasta?
Oh my god, we're too far gone. Anyway, but I get that it is annoying and that it is brought up a lot throughout the
That
first
was
volume.
pretty much my only gripe, and obviously like the rival thing too. Like
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah,
but
it
that was
doesn't need to be
pretty.
declared.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Like everything else was fine up until this point. After this, that's when I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
because
liking this.
he doesn't get the grimoire, and gets sort of accosted outside of this place because even though they and a little not that Zatch Bell really freaking innovated this sort of like or created this sort of idea, but a lot of Zatch Bell vibes with the grimoire books and like how the spells will appear to you based on sometimes like heightened emotions and stuff like that. All I'm saying is it's a
for
little-
real.
But even though, and again, because the guy who shows up, he says like, I know that I won't even be able to use that book, but I'll be able to sell it because it's got a 4-leaf clover on it. You know what happens to he gets kind of worked on, and Asta shows up to save the day despite having no magical abilities. This guy, being a former magical knight, gives him a run for his money, wraps him in those chains that we talked about, detecting zero magic. That's where the Asta has that moment of like almost giving up. And right, at his lowest moment, he doesn't get the grimoire yet, which I like. Steps up and defends him and gives him that boost that he needs. I like that it came from first, and then he decides to continue, and then bam, through the wall comes this cursed grimoire that is like black and
Burnt.
Clover. It is. Yeah, it's like it looks burnt, and it has 5 clovers on it or petals on it.
And the 5th one is from the devil.
Yes. And what a crazy I think idea, but I like it that Asta, being someone who doesn't have magic, now has the ability of like anti-magic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm sorry. It's pretty cool.
Because like even the guy that's kind of like berating them is like, I didn't even think that you could exist. Like a person with no magic. Like everyone has a little bit of magic.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit. And depending on how much you have is where you're ranked in like society pretty much. But it is just like, that's interesting too. Like, the lineage, like how could this person not be born with magic? Like something is a little fishy.
Another thing that I think was like a little nitpick thing for me is just that it seemed like there were like 3 or 4 different characters throughout this first volume who every time they noticed Asta's grimoire, it can happen once, it can happen twice, but it felt like it happened a lot, whether people were like, that grimoire, could it be?
No, I know. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
You don't think.
No.
No.
It's not possible.
How could this be?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we get it.
Yeah, it can happen once, maybe twice, but
Yeah.
felt like it happened a lot. Anyway, Asta is able to defeat him with this ability, this like anti-magic that he has. And, it's really cool because, again, he talks about being able to wield even the blade because of his physical strength. And says that Asta has saved him once again and he owes him. And Asta, I love how Asta is so like in love with this like shitty grimoire that he has.
Oh, yeah, because he's like, I didn't even think I was going to get one.
Yeah.
And I did like the line that, had too, where he was just like, Asta not being chosen, like I knew that couldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like no one works harder than this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was cool.
I actually really like their relationship a lot. Because again, we're kind of, a little all over the place, brushing past things, but there was a moment too where Yuno had kind of like made Asta feel like he didn't even see him as a rival, and then had accepted him as a rival again during this interaction.
Well,
but I think it was all Yuno just trying to bring out.
Well, trying to bring out for one, but also he could have just been like, I know this person's probably never going to be on the same level as I am. So it's like, if I keep feeding into this rival thing, like he's just going to get burned.
Yeah. And then during that moment, he also though had I don't know if it was during the flashback, but he also said like, no matter how far ahead I got, like Asta always kept up. Asta was always physically kept up. After that, and again, we're kind of going through it, at our own pace. But after that, basically, they go to the Magic Night ceremony to see. There's a little bit of a time skip, I guess, a couple months. I think that's the 6-month thing where they kind of train and they go to this Magic Night ceremony to. It's sort of like a tune-in exams or
pick your hat.
Yeah, or a hunter exam.
Or what is it? At Hogwarts when they
sorting hat. Yeah.
Sorting hat. Yeah.
But it's a lot different because you can like choose. I mean, Harry chose, but I don't know.
Harry's Harry.
Yeah, sometimes Harry's kind of a bitch. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. There's like all these theories that like even like that Neville Longbottom was the actual chosen one, and that Harry just stole his shine, Well,
the name Neville versus Harry Potter versus Neville Longbottom. I mean, who's gonna.
Yeah, for sure. Win. No one wants a hero named Longbottom. And they were like,
give it up.
If your name was Neville Potter, then maybe
you stood a chance. Maybe.
But it's because he, pulled the sword of Gryffindor out of the sorting hat during the final battle. And it was said that only the chosen one would be able to do that. And the only reason that people think that Harry is the chosen one is because of his relationship with Voldemort and then the boy who lived, all this stuff. The mythology of it is quite well thought out. Can't say the same for, the Dumbledore crimes of Grindelwald. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think also, like, Harry versus Neville, like, one of them had a better glow up.
Oh, damn. I mean,
he won that way.
I mean, damn, Daniel Radcliffe, he's a fine looking dude. He
has a boyish charm.
Yeah, he's a boyish charm. But Neville Longbottom?
Who would have thought?
Yeah, more like I got a Neville log bottom. You could put your log in my bottom. Anyway, it's getting a little hot in here. Anyway, so they go to this exam, and basically there's a fight after fight after fight. There's a guy who kind of Weasley guy who kind of befriends Asta and tells Asta, "Hey, I'm gonna be your friend," but in his head he's like, "This freaking dirty peasant isn't gonna."
Yeah.
And he, of course, Asta's failing all the tests. Of course, can't fly on a broom. He can't use any of these magical abilities that everybody else is using. So all the captains are kind of looking down at him. And I think there's like 12 captains, or I can't remember the exact number of captains, but there's a good amount of captains.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about it, and this too, is I'm a sucker for just councils or groups of people that have like cool character designs. Like every time I see it, I love it. And it kind of has a little interaction with the captain of the Black Bulls.
Eraserhead.
Eraserhead. A buffer Eraserhead.
He looks like in this panel, he looks like Eraserhead mixed with that guy from like Class B, I think.
Oh, yeah. In that panel.
Yeah, with the purple hair. I don't know if you guys can see this.
In that specific panel, he does.
Yeah, I was like, what? There's a lot of characters. Like Marilyn Manson is in this. Like,
yeah, straight up Marilyn Manson.
Straight. Like,
yeah.
There's no...
obviously...
Gordon Agrippa.
Obviously, there's a lot of times that manga could get inspiration from real life people, especially.
But Marilyn.
Well, this was before he was, as problematic as he is now.
Yeah.
But like, there are times where I'm sure this mangaka has done it with other celebrities too, where you look at, even again, back to One Piece, how some of the admirals are based off of actual actors, or Frankie is based off Jim Carrey. But this is Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, it's like there's no way like this is anyone else. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, it's not inspiration.
No.
It's 100% Marilyn Manson.
Pretty funny. But yeah, they are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all really, really awesome.
Yeah,
looking,
each captain of the Magic Knights is as strong as more stronger than 100 mages.
Yeah, there's very powerful people. There's a little quick interaction between him and Asta, and then the fights begin. And of course, the Weasley guy is like, "I'll fight you," and in the back of his head, he's like, "I'll win, and I'll look stronger, and I'll look better." And Asta, because of his magic being able, this anti-magic is able to defeat him pretty easily. So they take notice of that. The Black Bull captain takes notice of that. Some other people are like, okay, well, he did fail miserably at every other thing, but this is interesting. And then it kind of cuts to another fight. Really, what I like about this too is that it doesn't like stay here for too long. It's literally, it highlights a fight that ended very quickly with Asta, and it highlights a fight that ended very quickly with Yuno. There's this character that's introduced, and he's like, oh, this guy, with the 4-leaf grimoire who comes from the boonies, like, I'm going to show him about, and I'm like, oh my God, here's this freaking other rival character. And then it kind of just cuts to, just one move KOing him, and it's over. And I was like, that's cool. I did not want to see a long fight between these two characters. And of course, then comes the selection part of the process. No surprise to anybody, gets selected to be a part of the most highly regarded, magical
Golden Dawn.
Yeah, magical council, magical knights, the Golden Dawn, right? And Asta, it's crickets when Asta gets up there, except for when the Black Bulls captain jumps down in a very badass fashion, and it's like, you said you wanted to be the Wizard King. With me standing in front of you right now, can you say it to my face? And can you say it with as much, passion, vigor? Can you say it?
He's menacing.
I really like him though.
Yeah, he's great.
I love him even more in the anime, I think, just because I've seen more of him in the anime, and I actually really like him a lot. Again, it's just something about, once we actually meet the Black Bull, something about it just does feel
rugged.
Yeah, I mean,
rough around the edges.
Yeah, I love that too. There's the outcasts. These they are all like, they're all kind of like, kind of scummy,
they're
kind of weirdos, but they're all, I don't know, they're all charming in their own way. I like that a lot because, I mean, come on, story of my life. Am I right?
So you're a weirdo?
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up with like I said, my group of friends, was kind of, I mean, I think that everybody thinks that their group of friends were the outcasts or whatever, but, that group of people that I befriended on a Starbucks patio, whose group name we decided would be Scub Rats, which is Starbucks backwards, and to this day, I still think that's freaking awesome, dude. And everybody's like, that's the lamest thing I've ever heard. But the Scub Rats, it's just there's something like curmudgeon-y about it. And it's creative. It's Starbucks backwards. Sorry, you didn't think of it.
It's just a weird scub. Like, what even is that?
I don't know, but it sounds gross and I love it.
Yeah.
It sounds disgusting. And we were gross. That's what I'm saying. That's why I like the Black Bulls. That's all I'm saying.
You're giving rats a bad name. Rats are very cleanly animals.
Oh yeah, who freaking cook and open 5-star restaurants.
Yeah, I wish I was living in that world.
The Pixar universe, the extended Pixar universe. Asta gets chosen to be a part of the Black Bulls, or basically gets told like, you're gonna have to work hard. Like, I'm gonna put you through hell. And he's like, I'm so down. Let's go. And we start to meet some of the other Black Bulls. We've already kind of seen a few of them, Marilyn Manson, a couple other ones, but we're also starting to see more magical abilities. I think has the wind ability, and one member of the Black Bull specifically has spatial magic, which is supposed to be pretty rare, and it's able or allows him to create these like portals. And we have just, I think, like Another character who has like fire. I mean, just some classic stuff, but some it's classic sort of like powers and abilities. But again, in a new setting with new characters, like it feels fresh enough, I guess. And they go back to Black Bull headquarters, and I already said too. I think gets picked to be a part of the what's it called again? Red Dawn?
Yeah, the Red Dawn. Golden something. I literally just said it. Yeah, I think it's the Golden Dawn.
Asta is back at Black Bull headquarters and getting to know everybody. And I was very charmed by all of these characters. I mean,
same.
The older woman who has a drinking problem, the guy who loves to fight, the girl who loves to eat, the guy who loves his sister too much. There's such a fun cast of characters here, and they all have like incredibly unique character designs, and I love the guy who ends up like training Asta or giving him that like hazing ritual.
Yeah, he's cool. I mean, all of them are really fun.
Yeah, they're all really great characters. I think that even their acceptance of another character later on makes them even more charming.
I know.
This ragtag group of rapscallions, But then they meet another member that is, because of their hair color, it is an indicator that they are of a noble lineage or come from a noble family.
Mm-hmm.
However, they are with the Black Bulls, which that doesn't quite check out because they should have immense magical ability.
Yeah, and I do believe that their brother is in the Golden Dawn.
And I think, they mentioned that as well.
So it's like, why?
But we find out later that it's because although she has a lot of power, she cannot control it. She cannot direct it. So she goes to shoot and it always kind of veers off to one side.
I like her. She's cute.
Yeah, she really is cute. And again,
Noelle.
There's the moment, of course, when, Asta's getting initiated where he, repels a blade or repels this spell, this fireball with the flat end of his sword. And he finds out that he can not only slice through magic, but that he can bounce it back.
Yeah, I liked that moment for him. I do like when a character realizes like, oh, if I don't, step up or like kind of change the way I'm thinking right now, like I'm going to suffer immense consequences. Like, oh, I better do something about this or I'm going to die.
Yeah, and it was his physical abilities that saved him. His body had this like, reaction that was sort of ingrained in him because of all of his training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that was a cool moment too when he gets the cape, and it's such an exciting moment, I think, for him and for the one hazing him, because he thought like, oh man, this guy's gonna be pissed. I almost took him out, but he's like, you almost got me. I haven't, had to think on my feet, or I haven't had to. Another character says like, I thought I haven't had to not resuscitate a new member in a long time. Like everybody kind of loves him. That's when that other girl comes in, and she's a little salty. She's a little sour. She's a little hurt. She's a woman scorned. Basically, Asta finds her in the forest, kind of training later, and that's where we find out her magic doesn't go the way it's supposed to go. But then she ends up getting frustrated and creating a really strong sort of typhoon, magical water whirlwind sphere thing, and Asta has to come to the rescue. And when he does, and that was a cool moment too. He's like, exceed your limits like now. And I love that too. It's getting out of your comfort zone. It's never going to be a good or feel like the right time to take that next step. But he's like, you got to be literally thrown into it, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But he's able to save her in just that moment with her laying there on the ground before she gets up, flashing back to her family, telling her all of these horrible things and thinking that these people are going to make fun of her in the same way or look down on her in the same way. When she comes to, they're all like Asta and even all the other Blackpool members are like, wow, you're awesome. Like, you're so cool.
Yeah, sorry. No,
I didn't know.
I really liked that moment too. It was cute. It's just like you know, she just has to work for it. Like, she probably is royalty, and all these other people, like, they just are born with, like, you know, super high magic. And yeah, sure, they work, but they don't really have to work that much. And I think that she does have strong magic, but in her case, like, she just has to work at it. And they were like, well, if you're not already good, then bye. What use you to us?
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see, like, how she develops.
I mean, I do foresee an arc, you know, again, I don't want to be negative, but, you know, it's fun to, I guess, maybe guess. I do foresee an arc with her where she does become very endeared to the Black Bull. She becomes a more embedded or a more important member of their group. And then her family comes back and recognizes her power and her control of that power. And is like, well, you can come back now. Now you've sort of mastered it.
She's like, no.
Yeah, and she's gonna have to ultimately be
no,
like,
well,
you're not my real family. The Bulls are my real family.
Yeah,
you know, I could be wrong, and I want to be wrong, but who knows? And I wouldn't even hate that if that would happen. Yeah. So there was that really heartfelt, touching moment. Again, these are a band of misfits, but they have each other, and they love being around other weird people. And I think that's such a fun, cool message. I just really like their dynamic, what they represent, and just them as a whole. And I think the story gets a lot more fun once the Bulls kind of come in. You know, we get to learn more about the captain and his gambling and how they're all kind of like not really well respected and amongst the other magic knights. But Asta and this girl are sent on their first mission, and they are sent to a village to basically kill Boar or to wrangle Boar to pay off this debt that the captain owes this man. And it was a very cool scene too with the broom that they have to ride to get there. It's like a motorcycle. I mean, it's like a broom. If like a broom was a motorcycle, dude.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
sick.
cool.
And I just love like these creative twists on magic. I know I know it's again like I don't know. I just like I feel like Black Clover to me, it's just like different enough, right? Like it isn't doing like it isn't like crazy, like a crazy what's the word, like deviation from like things we've seen, but it's just different enough that I
really
like it. I really enjoy it. And moments like that and seeing them kind of all start to come together on this freaking broom with a skull on the front of it and a flying motorcycle. It was cool.
Sick.
They get to a village that's covered in mist. This feels like the Zabuza Haku sort of part of Naruto when they go on their first mission. And their first mission is actually it's supposed to be just them helping someone build a bridge, which was in Naruto. Turns into this like really crazy mission. So that felt a little Naruto too. But they get there and they this was truly terrifying though. I would say like the Zabuza arc in Naruto gets to a point by the end where you're really emotionally connected to Haku and Zabuza, and it has a very rewarding payoff. But it takes a little while to get there. Here, it's like immediately when that mist clears, like, where are all the villagers? And he's like, cut through the mist, Asta. And he cuts through and the mist dissipates, and you just see these spikes hovering in the sky, and all the villagers like bound up in the square. I was like, this is intense.
Yeah, like execution.
Yeah, they're about to get executed in the streets.
Yeah.
Damn. So they, are able to kind of get rid of that magic, and they see these really powerful, not sure if they're magic knights, not sure if they're spies, not sure who these people are, but this very powerful group of people that ultimately tells them that they are nobles of royal blood enough to be powerful. So they ask Asta, is protecting the villagers even worth it? Because you who have been accepted into the magic knights have enough magical ability then to basically feel superior to these people. And of course, Asta, since Asta comes from there, that is who he is fighting for the most. He's fighting for, that sort of equality amongst people to be treated the same no matter where they're from.
Well, yeah, because he had it like double-edged. I mean, he was like poor and he had no magic at all. These people have a little bit of magic, but they are like not wealthy or not in high society. So he's like kind of fighting for them, but like also like a piece of him that he's like trying to fight against too.
Yeah. And it's just it's a moment that again has been done before, but you know, I liked it here, and I think it definitely made sense for Austin's character for him to have that as a motivation, because of course that's where he came from. This is where it does again fall into familiar territory, but again, it's less heavy-handed than it was in the beginning. So even though it's familiar, it's still enjoyable. And there's of course a moment where Asta declares that, and the girl that he's there with from the royal family who cannot control her magic has a moment where she realizes that these are the people that she needs to protect as well. And because she has her insecurities and doubts, but is ultimately able to, because of this like pleading girl on in the square who grabs her dress or her cape, she's able to freaking Zatch Bell it, and she's basically able to open up her grimoire, and her freaking spell book starts glowing, and she's like, the second spell.
Yeah.
Or, a version, a variation of that. And she's able to create this huge spell that, regardless of like her being able to control its direction, it's so massive that it's able to kind of accomplish what they needed it to accomplish. And Asta is gunning for this guy who is a mysterious presence, but a very powerful one. And it kind of ends on them. They're sort of meeting, or their swords or weapons or whatever. One
crossing.
Sword, clashing with, I think, the guy's body. I think he just freaking
went for it.
And that's where the first volume ends. But let's hear your final thoughts, Megan. I feel like I've been ranting and raving and trying to chug a lug through this first volume.
I mean, I liked it. I can understand why people like it a lot. I like the characters that we've been introduced so far. Like I said, enjoyed the second half way more than I did the first half. But a lot of it is, very similar to what I have read before. But, like you were saying, in the same sense, like just different enough, or there's little added things that make it unique, which is like what, of course, you kind of want in this type of story in general, because it is like, magic systems. This isn't, like a crazy different magic system, but there are elements that are really cool. And again, the art, I feel like if the art wasn't as good as it was, and maybe I would feel different about it, but I did really enjoy the art. And the character designs, again, like I really liked that aspect of it. I don't know if I would say I would continue reading or watching it. Comment below. I mean, I heard a lot of people say read it versus watch it. So that's something, but
Yeah. I think for me, Black Clover doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it also doesn't settle for just making a basic round shape. My wheel analogy is kind of falling apart. But, it again, it doesn't reinvent anything, but it does what it does, and it does it well. And this is early on in the series. I imagine it sort of gets its own voice or finds even a better footing the further it goes into it. But even though it is, and I think a lot of people might discredit this series because it does feel a little paint by numbers, shonen-esque, beat for beat, what every other shonen does. I think, again, it just goes back to, it's just different enough. It is very beat for beat, or beat by beat, paint by numbers kind of in aspects. Of course, with being the Wizard King, and of course with the rival, and of course, just him being from the slums with no magical ability. Like there are a lot of moments, but that was the thing about My Hero. My Hero had a lot of those moments too. My Hero had a lot of great moments too. Unfortunately for me, My Hero did, for me personally, feel like it kind of lost its footing a little bit. But I think that Black Clover is something that I would be interested in exploring more of, because I come from a Naruto fandom. Being very young, I loved Naruto. I loved Bleach. This was my shit. And I've grown to experience the things outside.
To quote Josh, this was my shit.
I've grown to love and appreciate and broaden my horizons. But I go in expecting sort of, I don't go in expecting anything. I go in enjoying sort of it for what it is. And I had a really good time. And yeah, let us know in the comments if you've continued Black Clover, your thoughts on it. I know people people seem to love it or people seem to hate it.
Yeah, I feel like there's people that really, if they like it, they really, really like it. If they don't like it, they don't want to continue it. Or like, if you like it, if they don't like it, they'll tell you why it's not good. Like, it's that type of show or manga, I think.
Yeah. So without, crazy spoilers or anything, let us know your experience with Black Clover. What you've heard, if you've read it, if you like it, if you don't like it. And if you do decide to check it out because of this video, then let us know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. You can hop in our Discord and have some, there's some manga discussion tabs, some anime discussion tabs there too. But I mean, I had a lot of fun. I mean, I like this. I like going through not older series. I mean, Black Clover's definitely not new necessarily. It's newer-ish, I think. But I like going through these more, kind of classic series that more mainstream popular series, and going into the Takopis and the Oshinokos. I like going back and forth. So I had a lot of fun, and that's probably going to do it for our review/discussion portion of this video. However, we are not done yet. We still have to get to our Wonders Circle, which is the segment on our show where our beautiful AI, who you heard read the synopsis earlier on in the video, she goes through comments that you've left on previous videos. She picks a couple and she reads them aloud to us, and we respond to them. And if you would like your comment read in a future Wonder Circle, then all you got to do is leave a comment on this video or any of our other videos. But with all that said, Volume 1 Chan, can you hit us with the first comment, please?
This one comes from Dino ET. I think the medium was very important here. I don't think the movie-ish feeling would have been the same while turning pages in contrast to scrolling.
This is from our Goodbye Airy episode. This will be a spoiler-free response. But I kind of wanted to... I'm glad Volume 1 Chan picked this comment, because I wanted to have a conversation with you about this, because you read digitally almost exclusively, as do I now, just because it's more affordable and more easily accessible. But my experience reading like a certain, I forgot, Sweet Home, I think might have been the manhwa that we read. Yeah,
I really enjoyed the read more, I think, reading Sweet Home in that format than I would have definitely, like he said, as a manga. Like in paperback, just because it is that, it's a horror type manhwa. So when you're reading it, you're, every panel, it's like anticipation of maybe showing the same thing and just maybe glimpses of something coming in. And that just like added so much to the story. And it definitely could have not been the case if I was like, okay, the next page, or it was just on the page and you saw it happening all at one time.
Yeah, I do think it is crazy to kind of think about and interesting to kind of think about. And again, this is something else that I'd love to hear people kind of comment on in the comments. But for me, I never really noticed it until Sweet Home, where it did feel like a different reading experience. And I wonder, because Goodbye Airy is obviously a story about people who tell stories and so much more. It's also about sort of like film and movies, and is told in a sense as if it is on film. And that is sort of how, this whole vertical scroll thing. And there are talks about it, of course, people hoping, because I think people loved it. I loved it. I think you loved it. People hoping it'll get a physical release, but it will be interesting to kind of go back and read it in a physical release and see if it does change the reading experience. I think the digital reading experience does definitely lend itself to a overall more enjoyable experience. But I am interested to read it in a physical form if it ever comes out. It does change things, and it definitely affects the speed that I read. I feel like a lot of the time. Sometimes I'll be on a roll, and I'll just kind of scrolling through does feel like, because even on the tablet that I read One Piece and stuff on, it's like an Amazon tablet. It sucks, by the way. It's so cheap. It's laggy, but that kind of affects the experience. But even that, I have to tap the next sort of page, and so it does sort of like, it doesn't actually flip, but it does just it scrolls horizontally. And I think only when I read things online is it ever vertical. And I do have to say, I kind of like vertical.
I like vertical too. Is it one page shown at a time on your Kindle?
Yeah.
Yeah. For when I use my laptop to read like One Piece on Viz, like it's 2 pages.
Do you like that or do you not like that?
I mean, it helps me read faster.
You think so?
Yeah, I would think so. Because I'm just like kind of like, okay, like,
but
instead of okay.
Well, I guess it would be the same if you had a book open.
Yeah.
Because and this is again so interesting because it can change the experience of the story. It is cool because sometimes on 2 pages, your eye might wander or your peripheral vision might start to absorb something that's happening on the next page. And you might get a little ahead of yourself. Like I've definitely had that temptation before.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah. But I do think that what's interesting about it being on 1 page at a time is that you can't do that. But where it does get frustrating is 2-page spreads. It kind of ruins the 2-page spread experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'll literally have to, if it's a really iconic 2-page spread, and this happened with Berserk a lot too. I have to kind of like, because you can tap to go to the next page, or you can kind of drag, and I would kind of have to drag and kind of go back and forth to kind of really be able to
Malcolm in the Middle it,
and do it fast enough so that it looks like one. I mean, I guess that there's other ways to do it, but it does. It's just interesting that that all these different ways change the experience, and I wonder now if even mangaka, because I do think Fujimoto might have been purposeful in a lot of the paneling because he knew it would be digital first and primarily, and that's probably where people would get their first impressions of this series. But I do wonder if mangaka are going to start doing more of that in the future, where they're sort of building or organizing their paneling to benefit the digital reading experience versus the physical reading experience, because it seems like manhwa, being that it is they are web comics, has already kind of, that's what they are doing, and I think a lot of people are finding them easier to read, or reading them a different experience.
Just a different experience for sure. Yeah. I remember. I don't think it was too much of a difference, but like something like Killing Stalking, I feel like there were some panels that did add. But then it just kind of felt like a standard like manga. So that will be interesting. I think it's getting printed. And that's cursed.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but crazy things.
That's it's probably one of the craziest stories I've read.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta read it. See what all this killing and stalking is about.
Yeah.
But I mean, let us know in the comments again how you read manga and how you prefer to read it, if there's a difference. But Volume 1 Chunk, can you hit us with the last question, please? Or comment.
This one comes from Egg.
Egg?
Josh, all these weirdos gushing over Marin? I hope she cosplays this. I want to be with her. Y'all are freaks. Also, Josh, I wouldn't mind Yoriti licking me.
I mean, I wouldn't.
You contradict yourself
all the
way
time.
Too much.
All the time, and who cares? No, I actually also love Marin. I think she's great. Of all the best girl candidates.
And she's like so cool, and like I really like that about her character. She's just like down to earth, like actually has a personality and actually feels like a real girl.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll say this too. If Marin was of age, I'd let her lick me too. If she was of age.
Yeah.
in an appropriate place, like on the cheek or something,
So you're saying that you let Yoichi lick you in not
in inappropriate places because she is a legal adult.
Cat mommy.
And a cat mommy. Zoe Kravitz, who?
Yeah, move over.
For real. This is a real cat woman.
Yeah.
Right yeah. But Martin is great, and I think you love it too. And again, for all those reasons, and you loved the contact. I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a my dress up spoiler, but you loved that
spoilers for My Dress Up Darling. Like standardly, you have anime characters that look very, beautiful. Because that's the way they're drawn. But Marin was so cool because like she in one episode like didn't have any makeup on and she wears like colored contact lenses. And that was such a nice touch because you just think that like she wakes up like this, like I mean, she was beautiful either way, but like having like these big pink eyes and these long eyelashes and this perfect skin and this blush and everything. And that's just like she does it herself.
Yeah.
Like it was such a cool touch. I loved that.
I loved it too, and your reaction to it was like, like it was so funny. But I think that like for this season, like if we have the Comies and we have the Marins and we have all the best girl candidates, I guess these past couple of seasons, right? Mm-hmm. Marin's probably up there for sure. And Thorn Princess.
We haven't even met her yet.
I saw the.
Well, you've met her.
Well, yeah, we've met her. We've read it. But
yeah, but if you don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what everyone was saying. Like, it was such a funny tweet. I forgot who tweeted it. But it said pretty much like, Spy Family is going to be unstoppable because you have like Daddy of the season.
Yep.
Mommy of the season.
Yep.
Cutest, adorable, small child of the season.
Yep.
And then eventually you'll get a little doggy in there.
I mean,
you can't lose. It has everything for everyone.
Yeah.
So,
and on top of it having everything for everyone, they killed it with the animation.
Yeah.
They absolutely killed it. And we'll talk more about it in our Patreon exclusive bonus podcast.
Yes. So if you want to see us react, I mean, we're not going to do like a full reaction to the first episode, like actually watching it. If that like interests you at all, because we did an Attack on Titan one and it was fun for a little bit and then it became less fun because it was like nothing's happening and it was just kind of upsetting. But I mean, we only kind of one episode in. If that interests you at all, leave a comment because we won't know if it does until you comment.
Yeah. But speaking of our Patreon members, now is the perfect time to shout out and thank from the bottom of our hearts our wonderful, beautiful, amazing Patreon members.
Woo!
Thank every single one of you guys from the bottom of both of our hearts.
Yes.
Again, your support, especially the support that we've been seeing from the community recently has been insane. And we are the luckiest and feel like the luckiest people in the world to have, your support. And it is something that we do not take for granted, which is why I go on these, unplanned not rants, but, I give these speeches every episode because
you guys are our magic.
And yes, the magic in our hearts.
You guys are the magic in our hearts, we are continuously blown away by all of your support and all of the nice comments. And like we said, I think on a previous episode, like it is just so insane the amount of support we get on, videos that we release early, commenting and giving us your thoughts. You've even like a couple times have saved us from mistakes or something like that. Like you guys are just so nice, so sweet. We really appreciate everything you guys do for us because it means the world to us. And we are just like, how is this possible?
I mean, we're able to do the things that we're able to do because of you guys. The show is what it is because of you guys and your support. So thank you so much. And if you would like to become a Patreon member and get early access to all of our episodes, the One Piece episodes, the Volume 1 episodes, even the streams that we do over on Kumu that we re-upload on our channel, early access to everything we release, and access to our exclusive bonus Patreon podcast, Volume 1 Extra, where the episode that we're about to record after this will probably include Spy Family, Sonic 2. There was a couple.
I forgot what it was. It's like house boathouse.
Yeah, we talk about movies, we talk about
TV,
we talk about just
anything.
any and everything, and it is a lot of fun. And we are trying to make those more interactive as well too. So, we're wanting to even start posting stuff on our Patreon, posing questions to you guys, and then making it a more interactive experience for our Patreon members as well too. But if you'd like access to that or any of the other things that I mentioned, you can gain that access by going to patreon.com/volume1pod or by clicking join on this video. And it is available to everybody at our lowest tier. All of these perks are available to you at the lowest tier. But there are plenty of other ways that you can show your support that are equally as important and mean just as much to us. And Mehgan will tell you those things now.
Hello. If you're low on magic
Hello.
or have none at all, don't worry. We got you. We understand your support. What you can do for us for free for no magic at all is comment on any one of our videos. You can comment a comment, an emoji, your thoughts, your questions, pretty much anything. And that acts as a free tip to us and the algorithm. It really helps us out. It really spreads our episodes far and wide across the globe, all over, everywhere. And it is such a great help to us. If you can't spend any money supporting us on Patreon or even on YouTube, you can comment, like, subscribe, share the videos, do all that good stuff. I know everyone says it, and I know even coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go, another YouTuber saying all this. But it really does help us out because we are still growing and continue to grow, continuing to grow. So if you could help us out in that way, that would really be the world and give us more magic.
Yes. More magic, please.
More magic, please.
But that's it. The only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro that's always the same and never changes, which today, Mehgan, is grimoire, grind more. Help me out. You're my
grind set, grind more.
Grind set mindset. I don't know. Come on.
Black Clover. Move over.
Okay.
Move over, Black Clover.
Okay. Not sure what that would mean.
I don't know. Yeah, either the implications.
Because we've said hasta la vista before.
We have said it a long time ago. I think that was literally in like our second episode ever.
I mean, we could do a callback to that.
Yeah, we might as well redeem ourselves.
Yeah.
We deserve that.
We deserve it. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time, hasta la vista, baby. I'm gonna go watch some Black Clover.
More like
the Grim Adventures of
More like the Grim Adventures of Austin. You go.